Hello, good evening and welcome to a Gooner Ramble pod. I'm James, I'm hosting tonight and we are joined by Clive Palmer. Clive, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. Hello, James.
Hello. And we are also joined by Sima. Sima, how are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm fantastic, it's been a great day. So getting on to today, around 4 o'clock-ish English time, I'm downstairs, switch on the old Sky Sports News as you do, and the little yellow bar of dreams comes up, and it says Petr Cech is a done deal. And we finally got our man. I think we pretty much knew we got our man, but it's all finalised, and then you turn on Twitter and he's got the shirt, he's outside the training ground. You know, how big of a signing is this? I'll go to you first, Sima, and then Clive afterwards. So, but how important is this?
Oh, it's definitely a huge signing. I mean, there's so many reasons, but one of them is we haven't really had a very good goalkeeper since Lehmann, Sima, and those days, and now it's Petr Cech, and it's just even better because he used to play for Chelsea, so it's just really, really, really good all round.
And you, Clive?
Yep, well, yeah, it's nothing but a positive move, really, and for many, many reasons. I mean, where we've been over the last sort of 5-6 years, up until a couple of years ago, where we've been regarding people taking players from us. And suddenly we started off with Ozil. We got Cazorla at a good price. Then we got Ozil. Thinking, okay, that's a one-off. Maybe Wenger was forced into it. Then Sanchez arrived. And then we're thinking, okay, this is interesting. There can't be anything else happening. And then suddenly Petr Cech arrives. And it really is it's a trend now, isn't it? It's a trend in lifting quality of footballer, really, that's arriving at the club. So, it's a really positive sign. And more importantly, players, they smell it when something's good happening at a club. And they also smell it when something bad is happening. And we had a number of players looking for reasons to leave. But Petr Cech and Sanchez are looking for reasons to arrive. And that's a big change. That tells you something's happening.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. For me personally, I've said it's just as big as the Ozil and the Sanchez signings for me, because, like Sima stated, I feel we haven't had a goalkeeper for a good, 10 or so years. I mean, the likes of Mark Poo, Malmunia, alright, it was a bit unfortunate, but the likes of Rami Shabam, Richard Wright, people like that, and to take Petr Cech, who, okay, he was second fiddle at Chelsea, but the amount of trophies the man won from, and he's the Golden Glove holder, and I mean, I've got some stats here. He played 7 games last season. He kept 4 clean sheets. He went 303 minutes before conceding a goal. He had no errors that led to goals. He had an 89% save rate, and he's got a 78% save to shots ratio. And he's only 7 clean sheets behind David James being the all-time Premier League clean sheet holder. So you cannot moan at that at all. I mean, he adds up against Ospina and Wojciech, but I think that's a fantastic signing. But going on to that, people now think that Ospina's probably surplus now, and some are saying keep Ospina, get rid of Wojciech, or keep Wojciech, get rid of Ospina because he's homegrown, and you got Martinez there as well. But what do you guys think? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's Ospina's going to be the one that's going to be shipped out, and then Szczesny can finally maybe learn off a keeper of the quality of Petr Cech, and maybe even Martinez as well? I mean, I thought he was fantastic when he stepped into the few games that he had to last year. What do you think, Clive, someone like Petr Cech coming in and his goalkeeping coach coming in as well, do you think that's going to benefit these younger keepers as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think, to me, it seems obvious now, and it wasn't obvious to me before. So I remember being on a podcast with Callum. I'm going to apologise to him live on pod, saying that Szczesny was done. But then he seems to have resurrected himself. His cup final performance was very, very good. And just what he said publicly, straight away he's come out today and said, I can learn from Petr Cech. So that tells you the decision has already been made, really. And something that maybe we didn't assess earlier in the season, that Szczesny is a homegrown player. And that's really important with the current Premiership rules changing year on year. And the need for homegrown players is only increasing. So to me, it looks like Szczesny's going to stay. He's at a good age. He seems to have, his personality seems to become a lot more humble. So the recent experience seems to obviously have changed him slightly. So Ospina, although he's a bit of a cult figure, has done very, very well, done nothing wrong, may find himself out of Arsenal just due to his birth certificate up to a point. So, which is a shame for him, but I mean, he's 26, he's a very good goalkeeper, international goalkeeper with lots of experience for his age. I think he'll find the club very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm. And Sima, what about yourself? I mean, I know you talk about Szczesny a lot in the WhatsApp group. You like to defend Szczesny a lot. I mean, last season he played 17 games. He got 3 clean sheets. He's 71 minutes average, goals conceded by minutes, and he had 3 errors as well that contributed to goals. Which, if you want to be at a top club, for me, if you want to be a top level goalkeeper, Petr Cech had none. Wojciech Szczesny had 3. For me, it's a telling stat. But what do you feel? Do you think now, really, Wenger will say, right, Petr Cech's my league keeper, Wojciech, you're my cup, and if something, touch wood, doesn't happen, but it might do if something happened to Petr Cech, Wojciech's the one to come in, and then obviously Martinez and maybe Huddart or one of the other young keepers will be the one for the League Cup.
Yeah, I mean, first, I do agree with Clive about Ospina. He has been decent for us, and it's just a matter of, I'm not sure if it's a matter of nationality, but I do think Szczesny on his good days is slightly better. I know I do defend Szczesny a lot, but if you look at Szczesny last season, it was due to a lot of, he had a lot of behavior problems. He had a lot of outside issues with his father, with his, I don't know, he had his issues, but the season before that, him and Petr Cech, they both won the Golden Glove, and that says something about Szczesny as well. And I think it's actually not good that he went through what he did, but somewhat it is good because it happened now, and now he has Cech to look up to, and he has Cech to learn from. And I think it's not a negative thing. I mean, yeah, negatively it did affect us, but also going back to the point that when Ospina started playing instead of Szczesny, he had a solid back four, he had Coquelin, he had everything was already turning around at Arsenal. Whereas when Szczesny was playing, he had a problem with himself, and also he had 4 defenders that kept changing game in, game out because of injuries, and we had Flamini playing on his own we were playing 4-1-4-1 formation. It was just really messy beginning of the season, and I'm not giving him an excuse because his behavior did cause him a lot of problems on the pitch and off the pitch. And I'm very glad that we had Ospina to step in. But I do think, despite the fact he had a decent season, I did not see him as good enough. I would love it if he could stay as a third choice keeper for now while we loan out Martinez. But at the same time, it's unfair for someone like Ospina, who's still at a good age, who still has a lot of experience ahead of him, although he does have a lot of experience for his age. So I would sell him, and I mean, it's good for him, good for us, and good for Szczesny. So, yeah.
Yeah. Clive, I'll come to you first, but do you think this is a case of Wenger being a lot more ruthless? I mean, I saw online a lot of people saying, look, this is showing another side to Wenger we haven't seen for a long time. He's being ruthless and letting a player of Ospina's quality. All right, some people question it. I think he's a very good keeper. I think he's a good shot stopper. I think, like you said, he did benefit from having Coquelin come in a more of a settled back four than what happened earlier in the season. But do you think this is ruthlessness, or do you just think it's Wenger going, look, Szczesny's younger, he's homegrown, so we're a club that like to, what's the word I'm trying to say? Adhere to the league's homegrown quota and stuff like that. Do you think that's the case, or do you think it is Wenger being ruthless now and saying, look, this is where we're going and that's what we have to do to move forward?
I just think it's Wenger taking the opportunity to raise the quality of player.
Mm.
It just shows we're coming out of what I call the make-do era. Buying the Silvestris and Kim Kallstroms and players like the Squillacis. These are players just to make do. And we had to rely on a core 12 to 14. And then this next sort of 6 or 7, they weren't of the right quality, right? So, we're going past that now. So you look at our bench at the cup final. I mean, you'll do well to get a kit on at the moment. It really is like that. And we're still going to add to this group. So I think it's really interesting with Petr Cech. I watched a video of him at the club today. And I think also we look at him from afar and we see a decent goalkeeper. He's killed us in many, many games historically. And he's been the best Premiership kind of goalkeeper for the last 10 years. We all know that. Chelsea fans will say that he lacks a bit of bravery since he got his hit on the head. But I'm not buying that. Every game he played last year, he was super professional and he played very, very well. And Chelsea fans, the real good ones, they know what a top keeper he is. And it's quite interesting, a couple of points come out of today's video. I don't know if you watched it, but that guy has not come here for a holiday. He's come here to win. And you can see it in him. And he kept mentioning about, I'm coming to Arsenal with the chance to compete. I think he was really hurt by the fact that he was not allowed to compete with Courtois. He was not allowed to be number one. He just wants to compete and earn his spot in the team. And whatever he did, he knew he was never going to get that chance. And that's all Wenger promised him, was the chance to come here and be number one. We'll give you the environment to help our younger goalkeepers. I think it's a great move. I think I've underestimated maybe the importance of a goalkeeper to a team and the influence. But the influence of a goalkeeper is massive. And we've got one at 33. We've got a 4-year contract he's got. And that's big for Wenger to do that. And I think it's a significant milestone. I really do in our sort of buying policy in Wenger's time to get a player like that at his age. He's changing the landscape really of what we're trying to achieve. Another thing that Cech said, he said we're looking to make a mark in Europe. I haven't heard an Arsenal player say that for years. To make a mark in Europe? That means his own ambitions are immediately looking at the Champions League. We're looking to qualify for it. He's looking to try to win it and achieve something in it. And it's all about raising the bar. I think it's a positive day for Arsenal.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I saw snippets. I didn't see the full thing, but I definitely agree. It's like you said. He hasn't come here to sit on his arse on his with his hands in his lap on the bench. He's easier to get in there straight away and make a change. And I think the back four as well will be like, this is good. This is really, really good. I mean, not that Koscielny and them need motivating, but you look at someone like Callum Chambers and Bellerin, who are like young up and coming defenders, and even Kieran Gibbs to that extent. I think Kieran Gibbs is steady, but he can push on to a next type of level. But I think someone like Cech will really, really help that back four, whoever it is in front of them, even that back five, even Coquelin and those younger players. They will look at this and think that's a top tier goalkeeper coming in here. Yeah.
The whole club will look at this and say, that's a top signing. And that's a directional statement about where we're going.
Yeah.
Other thing is also, it changes how other teams view us. Mm-hmm. They look at us and think, okay, there's not a weakness there. There is not a weak player there. There's a strong player there. And we're going to have to do very well to beat him. And sometimes, for those who are a little bit older, we can remember David Seaman, and basically, sometimes he was in goal and just his presence alone was a huge influence on how the opposition viewed us, right? And we haven't had that for a long time, if we're honest. And now we've got it again.
Definitely agree there. Well, we'll quickly shot over to some of the listeners' questions here. And we got one from Hassan Rimani. I hope I've said your name right, mate. If I haven't, I apologise. He's just simply put, the next signing is ... question mark. So, Sima, who's the next signing going to be if you're looking into the magic crystal ball of football transfers? I mean, we get linked from the likes of Jeffrey Schlupp at Leicester to all of a sudden, probably Messi on a daily basis, all sorts comes out. So, if you're looking into the magic crystal ball now, who's the next one going to be? Or who do you want it to be?
Who do I want it to be? Well, I did want it to be either Kondogbia or Schneiderlin. Vidal would have been amazing, although that rumor has been going around for a while now, and I've been reading a lot that it was a false rumor that sounded very credible and somehow the whole world believed it. But I really do hope it is a defensive midfielder. I'm not really worried about it being someone on the level of, on the caliber of Alexis, Ozil, Cech, but I do want it someone who would be able to compete with Coquelin, because I'm very happy with Coquelin. I mean, he got second in player of the season. So I think we just need someone to be competitive against him, especially when we need him to rest, or also for the other cups like the FA Cup and the Capital One Cup. again, I mean, I know we've been talking a lot about the striker position also. That for me is not a big deal, but it would be also amazing. And if we were to get someone, I would love it to be Benzema.
Okay, and Clive, I know you've been waiting far away.
No. Well, I have got a few thoughts.
Really?
Just like Sima, really. She's got the two positions now perfectly, right? So it is defensive midfielder. So right, then you've got to say to yourself, well, what type? So do we want an Arteta type, sort of a ball-playing facilitator, like a Ilario Mendy type midfielder that's a bit of a passer? Do you want someone like a Schneiderlin, which is like a combination between a Coquelin and an Arteta? He can play slightly in front, or he can play the deepest player. Kondogbia, a little bit raw, left-footed, and I described him as a slightly more aggressive, better Fabian Delph. I got a bit of abuse for that on Twitter, but that's how I see him. He's stronger, taller, but he's quite quick, and he's not as structural as a Coquelin. He's a bit more of a presser higher up the pitch. But the player I like is somebody that mirrors Coquelin, but maybe offers something different regarding presence, and that's Ricardo Carvalho. And I just think the under-21 tournament, he absolutely murdered Emre Can the other day in that game against Germany. He murdered England. He literally is just Yaya Touréing around that pitch. He'd be striding it, and his presence is just calm in the tackle. He knows when to go man on man, body on body, and I think his distribution is really, really astute. He can run with it at distance, and he is a player that we can get. I think he's one of those Vieira type signings that's going to be with us for 5 years plus. I think he'll be a major, major player if we can get him. I think his ceiling is very high. I know people are questioning his mobility, but I don't see that as an issue. So I think he'll be my next signing. And I would definitely like a forward, stroke, wide person, very, very quick. The rumour that excites me the most, I know it's been shot down, it's been Aubameyang from Dortmund. I think he's a player that brings a level of pace which tells us our direction that we're going. Look at the cup final. To watch Arsenal with a fast front man was a completely different phenomenon. In the last two games really, West Brom and then the cup final, we look like a different team. We look full of movement, full of flexibility. Adding another player that can play left, right, centre forward, but taller and even as quick, if not quicker than Theo Walcott. To me, that can be no bad thing. I'm not after a Higuain, an overweight centre forward that just sits around the box. I think we've got a very good sort of static centre forward in Giroud. We don't need another. So for me, a forward like that and a Carvalho, I would just sit back, get the cigars out and watch us win the league.
I agree. I've been watching Carvalho a lot, and he seems like an enforcer, but at the same time, I just sort of think maybe, Coquelin's still young himself. To have another youngster in there, as well as, you've got to add in this Bielik factor as well. We've not even seen him really much. What's Wenger want to do with him? You got so many
Bielik's 17.
questions.
I mean, that position's quite a experienced position. It's something that...
Yeah, I understand that, but you got to remember he put in Fabregas there at 16, in centre mid at 16, and I know it's not the same necessary thing, but you just never know what he's thinking sometimes.
Yeah,
and, from what we've read, he's meant to be quite tasty, isn't he? From what I've heard from people that watch a lot of the youth games, apparently he's quite a good young type of player. He's quite.
They're building him, yeah. They're building him up.
No, as far as the forwards go, I definitely agree with you on someone like Aubameyang. But for me, even if you want to go cheaper, I'll probably get slapped off for this. I like Yannick Bolasie. I think that's a bloke. He's an enforcer. He's quick. He can distribute. He's got a goal in him. I think someone like Yannick Bolasie would be fantastic, especially on the wide right or coming in off that left foot or whatever. I think someone like him would be brilliant at it. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine Yannick Bolasie would be, 30, 40 million, but I still think he'd be someone to add. But we all know, everybody knows my dream's Lacazette, and you see things online saying, they've dropped the pricing value of him, and he's on Arsene Wenger's radar, and I'm like, if he pulls that off, I'll be the first in the queue. I'll buy the shirt the next day because I think that kid's special. I really do. There's very rare sometimes where I see somebody and I'm like, no, you are special. And he really, really does feel special and look special to me. I don't know if anybody else really has took a lot of view of Lacazette or...
I haven't really sort of taken a long view of him.
Yeah.
I've taken a YouTube view, right? So,
we can all cut and paste them videos. I could do one of me in my garden like that, and I look like Messi. So
I looked at him, and he looks like a forward, really, quite similar to Theo in some respects. He's like a chunky, fast-moving, dynamic forward. So I look at his profile and think, okay, you're quite similar to what some want Theo to be down the centre.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got more variations of finish than Theo has right now, but Theo's threat his threat of pace is massive. So I look at him and think, okay, you're interesting, but I don't know if he can play wide. I haven't looked at him that closely, but I know that Wenger will always go for a flexible player that can play multiple positions. And I just look at Aubameyang and I just think, okay, you bring a fear factor, right? So just the fear factor he has. I know that some people question his bottle and they question his execution numbers, but I think he scored 24 goals last year, 16 in the Bundesliga. So he's not, you know,
he was head and shoulders above anybody at Dortmund last season for me. From what I mean, I didn't watch him religiously, but from what I seen, he just was their best player by far. He looked fantastic for them last year, and like you said, his pace is. I'd probably put him up there next to Theo and Bellerin. He could be even faster, possibly. You just can't tell. He seems like really, really worryingly quick. And we had that discussion in the Welbeck, that Welbeck debate that we had about when he runs in, he sort of plants his foot when he's like trying to slow himself down or whatever. But Aubameyang will run at that speed. And then he will finish at that speed as well. He doesn't take time to sort of stop himself and plant his foot and that. And that's a very, very exciting prospect, especially for Arsenal in the way that we play.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. But also another point to just to kind of note was that I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the season, Dortmund were almost relegated, and at that time, Aubameyang was injured, and as soon as he came back from injury. I mean, there were quite a few players injured, but his presence actually also really lifted them. And they did start improving after his presence. So that's also something to look at. So that means he actually has the ability to be one of those players that can make a difference. So that is definitely something that I would love in a player, because as we saw beginning of our season, we weren't playing, we had a very rough start, and we had Alexis, and he was literally saving us. And if we can have special players like that can do that, I'm all for it, of course, as well.
Yeah, that's
a great shot. Actually, you see, when he came back for Dortmund, when he did come back, and they started to he was one of the injured players that did get back. They started their results proved immediately. I think he's a special player. I really do. I think he could be a different player again in 2 years' time. He could be anything. It's quite interesting, actually. I've got another Colney story, actually, James. So listen out to this one, right?
Go for it. Far away.
So, one of the things that they explained to us, sort of how Wenger looks at players and how he spots talent. And he uses two rules, basically, from his own perspective. He sort of says, when I see a player, I always remember how I felt emotionally when I first saw them. Right? So that's something I always look for as well. How do you feel when you first see him? What's your first reaction? Because it's normally not too far away. He says, I tend to look for players also that have got one special skill that's really unique, because then I can build on the rest. And he mentioned Theo Walcott in that discussion. Theo Walcott had unbelievable pace, and I knew I could build on the rest of his game. He had great movement, great pace, great awareness of running off the ball. So he tried to work on the other side, like his passing execution and his agility, and he built the player. I look at Aubameyang and I see something quite similar. Obviously more experience, a bit more of a physical animal, but he has got something exceptional, and that is pace and ability to strike a ball at pace and cross the ball at pace. A bit like Gareth Bale's got a unique skill of crossing the ball at speed, at top speed. And I think he's just got those raw, special attributes that can be built upon. And when you look at those strikers out there in the world, the real special ones, they're 50, 60 million. We're just not going to do that, but we could bring someone in with a special talent that will mix in with the group well, mixing with our philosophy, and maybe we could do something. So I've got a hope that we can get him. We need Dortmund to sell, so it's not a guarantee. He's got a good contract on him, so let's see.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, next question is from Martin Morgan, who's at Welsh Gooner 95, and he says, how good does it feel to get one over Mourinho? I don't know who wants to take that first.
Sima's dying to take that
one. Yeah, I mean, of course, that is one of the things that just makes it all better. But also the fact that, as Clive was saying before, during about how Cech was talking about Wenger and his God, I can't speak anymore, and his views for the season and what made him come to Arsenal. One thing he did was he kept talking about thanking Abramovich and thanking the fans, and he did not mention Mourinho because you could see the disappointment in the fact that he didn't get the chance to even compete last season at all. So I think that just makes me feel even better that he didn't even mention Mourinho in what I've seen, at least so far. So, I mean, I don't really want to focus so much on Mourinho because, you know what, I don't want to give him that satisfaction that we care so much about what he thinks. But at the same time, it is something that has always been there between Arsene Wenger and Mourinho, and the fact that Petr Cech decided that he'd rather play with Wenger right now than Mourinho is just beautiful to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Clive, do you want to come in at all, or are you not going to give him the satisfaction either?
Just shortly. I mean, really, we had a couple of great days last year, quite a few of them actually. The year before, we didn't really have many big days, but last season we had the Manchester games and the Cup final and Liverpool and some real great memories. There is one memory I can't wait to have, right, and that is when Arsenal beat Chelsea and Wenger gets his day against Mourinho, because he really deserves it. Right? The way he's run that club, his moral standing, the way he does things, he cares about individuals, he cares about players, he cares about the club, he cares about the legacy he wants to leave behind. Yeah, I criticise him when he doesn't prepare for games like Monaco and things like that, and we all get frustrated. But the man is beyond most football managers. He's a CEO of a large company, and he runs a club like it, and I've got nothing but admiration for him. I just hope he gets his moment against him, and I hope it's in a really big game. And I'll tell you what, there won't be enough Cronenberg for me after that game, I'll tell you.
You have to stock up, won't you? You have to go to the warehouse. Do you think he'll play in the Community Shield, or do you think maybe, they'll look at that and go, all right, it's, sort of a curtain raiser, but it is a bit of a, all right, there is silverware at the end of it, but is it something you really, do people set themselves up? Yeah.
It gives him a chance to say goodbye, doesn't it? Mm. He's done nothing wrong.
No.
He's given them 11 years.
I think he'll want to play personally, so I hope he does.
He's given them great service, and the club have decided that he's no longer first choice, and he's decided, well, I want to play. Mm-hmm. And fair play to Abramovich, because it was Abramovich that allowed him to choose his club. He's come to us, and I think it's a really important day for the club. I really do, and I think for him, he's at a good club in Arsenal. He's got a chance to continue his ambition, and I honestly think he deserves his send off from Chelsea fans, because he's been nothing but a hero for them, and he's given them some great days. So whether we like Chelsea or not, it doesn't really matter. The guy's he's an absolute model professional and an ambassador, and I hope we get some very good years out of him.
Yeah, agreed. And the last question we got here is from Weeside Mezet, and he says, how do you think Cech will compare to 2 seasons ago when he shared the Golden Glove with Szczesny? So, Sima, what do you think about that?
I'm not sure if he means how do we think he compares in terms of is he going to still be the same level? If so, of course he has a lot of experience. For me, that is one of the most important things. He's won everything with Chelsea, and that mentality is what is needed. I mean, there's something that I always used to feel, and I feel very strongly about it, is that sometimes I think that the leader should be from all the way to the goalkeeper, because the distribution comes from there. He kind of would be shouting at the defenders, telling them what's happening, and I feel like we need that kind of leadership in a goalkeeper. And I mean, I'm not saying Ospina and Chesney were not good, but I mean, I think they still lacked that leadership. I know that when Ospina came in, he kind of eased the defenders, but at the same time it worked the other way around as well. I think with Cech, it's just him literally leading from behind, and I think that's something that's very important. So I'm sure he still has the same capabilities that he did 2 seasons ago, with just more experience, and the fact that he hasn't played much last season would just make him hungrier. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, a lot of people think, all right, the age, he's a lot older, but people need to factor in, like I said earlier, he went 303 minutes without conceding the goal last year. That's what, 2 and a bit games. And he made no errors as well. He's still very, very, very good goalkeeper. And goalkeepers can go on for, as long as they like. I mean, Dino Zoff lifted the World Cup at, 40, 41? And you look at when Van der Sar signed for Manchester United, he won 11 trophies for them. If Cech can duplicate that, I'll be more than happy. I still think that that's a guy with a lot to offer, and hopefully, I think he'll definitely deliver it.
Sorry, one thing to add, we forget that we signed Lehmann at the age of 32, 33. Yeah, so it's not, I'm not, like you said, goalkeepers, they go to look at Buffon right now. Buffon's still playing. Friedel was playing till 41, 42. There's a lot of goalkeepers that are at a mature age, and I think that just is exactly what we need, a mature goalkeeper, whether it is to be a starter. I mean, obviously right now, Cech to be a starter, but I mean, even in the long run, he could be someone who would be motivating, teaching, so it's just positive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Clive, I'll ask you one last closing question. The last time we won back-to-back FA Cups and signed a new goalkeeper, we all know what happened there. Is it going to happen again, Clive?
Do you think I'm going to ruin any reputation I've had?
I thought I'd be cheeky and ask it.
No chance. I think it's we've still got work to do on the squad. We can cover centre mid if we want to, and we can cover a striker if we want to. But if we want to really win, I think we need to add those 2 players. So we still got work to do, and I'm sure we'll soon move on from Petr Cech, and we'll be discussing the next signings very, very quickly. But to Sima's point around leadership, I don't think we can put a value on that. I think that's way more than the price we paid for him. And maybe we've gone through what I call the make-do phase. We're now in the sort of just coming out of what I call the squad building phase. We've managed to put a couple of cups on the sideboard, but now we're in the big trophy stage, and the next 2 years it's going to be expected that we really do deliver something. We've got the players, we've got the right age profile, so next 2 years we've got to make a much bigger mark in Europe, and we've got to win the Premiership, and that's the expectations that we should be asking of the club now. So there's no excuses. The money's there, the revenues are there, the TV money's going up in Champions League and the Premiership. Other teams are going to build. So we're well positioned now. So just got to execute. And a player like Cech just makes that all the more likely. So very good day.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, I'm going to, wrap it up here, but I'll just say, if you want to subscribe to us here on YouTube, you can click the link. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. We've got an RSS feed as well for Android users. We've got the Periscope, which you can follow us on. I know someone will probably be doing a Periscope hopefully Wednesday night. We'll try and do that as much as we can. And have we got the Instagram now, Sima? Have we got the Instagram? Have we got an Instagram?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we've got an Instagram as well, so you can follow that. And then you can follow us on our own Twitter handles. So you got @Sima, LAMINE. And then you got, I'm not going to try and risk it. I'll let you do it. And then we've got @Clive PAFC. That's a lot easier for me. And then myself is @LLCoolJames91. So yeah, just keep up with us, and hopefully we'll have a few more podcasts about other great signings that we've had. So thanks again for listening, everybody, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.